Hello and welcome to another edition of the Spooky Ooky podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about dark things so young children may not want to listen. Or worse. So, there you go. This week we are talking about Ouija boards. So, Ouija boards, the infamous thing. Do they exist? Are they real? Is everything we're talking about here absolute nonsense? Well, yes and no, in fact. There is some scientific thing surrounding the Ouija board, but not what you're expecting. Is it a ghost making this Ouija board move? No. Is it a portal to a dimensional realm that makes the world end? No. Can it cause you to get cursed? No, it cannot. We'll go into a detail on what's happening in this episode of the podcast. But hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode, another edition. It's great to be here. The feedback from episode 1 has been great. That was actually released yesterday for me. I'm delaying this episode. I'm recording the first. I thought I'd release the first ever episode, which was the kind of welcome, hello, who are you, what's going on, and then a few days later release the first proper episode. That's not saying that episodes are going to come out every few days. This is just for now. I thought, well, we'll let the first episode come out as an intro and then have a proper episode, which is this one, which is the subject matter of Ouija boards, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, which is rather exciting. Now, there are lots of theories surrounding the Ouija board. There are the scientific reason, which I mentioned in the last episode. There is some science behind the Ouija board that I will be talking about. It is what's moving it. Well, I'm not denying that they do move, and I've heard stories where they do move, and I'm not denying. Also, my mum's deciding to do some work in the background, so if you hear drills or stuff, I do apologise. Yes, I don't know why she's... Well, actually, it's summer. It's summertime. But anyway, so yes, you are moving. It is moving. I'm not denying that, but it is your subconscious moving it. The part of your brain you don't normally have access to. It is the one moving it. In fact, in the olden days, the original Ouija boards were actually invented as a medical device. This was in the age when, leeches were the cure for everything. It was a medical device to talk to your subconscious brain. That's how they did it. That's how you communicate with that. So that's what they're talking to. You're actually talking to yourself, essentially. That's kind of what's happening. And with multiple people, you're kind of looking for answers. It's somewhat, you are moving it, essentially. That's kind of what's happening. It is being moved by you. Or a group of you, and the more people there, the more likely it is to move. There's more energy. The idea of it making it move makes it move. There's so much surrounding the idea of the Ouija board. Yeah. So I'm having a drink. Am I allowed to have a drink? Yes. The one thing that I wanted to discuss about the Ouija board, and I don't know where this came from, was, well, I kind of have a couple of theories, is the fact that apparently if you use a Ouija board, you'll get cursed or you'll get sent into some dimensional realm that is likely to kill you. That's obviously false. The fact there are ways to open and close the Ouija board, and in the documentary which I mentioned last week, where I got a lot of flack and a lot of hate for using a Ouija board in a documentary, when people saying I didn't know what I was doing, I actually researched and I knew how to open and close the use of a Ouija board. I thought, well, I'll be respectful at the same time, not as a just in case it's real kind of thing, but it was more because I know people will be watching this and they'll be like, wait a second, you're doing this wrong. Well, I kind of knew what I was doing, and I remember some of the people who actually had a go at me for using a Ouija board in the video actually noticed the fact that they actually went, no, okay, no, I see that you opened and closed it respectfully, and that's what I did. And that's kind of where we went with that. I do own a proper Ouija board. This one is, it wasn't the one featured in the documentary that caused a lot of flack. I actually got a lot of hate saying that it was a toy one. Ouija board's a Ouija board. People use Scrabble tiles, but we won't go there. So I went out and bought a proper one that's been blessed. Don't ask me what that means, but that's kind of where I went with that. So the idea is apparently that it will curse you and get some kind of whatever, and I don't see the logic. It's a block of wood. It's actually next to me. It's hilarious. The hate I got for that. Apparently I heard a story that someone once used a Ouija board in a school, and that someone actually had to come into the school and give them a lecture, like the whole school a lecture on not messing with that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, they're not messing with anything. It's just a block of wood. So I'm interested in hearing stories of the use of Ouija boards. So I'm going to go and look for some stories and come back to you. So here we go. So I'm on a website called Reader's Digest. This is where I've got the story. So here we go. The story's called Hexed. Take this on face value. I'm saying it's a load of rubbish. I will try and apply logic to it, but this could just complete load of rubbish. But this is just a story I thought I'd read. Justin played with a Ouija board one day with several of his friends. They asked questions, but instead of the planchette moving to certain letters, it began to move in a strange pattern. It went in all four corners of the board and made an X, the 32-year-old New Jersey resident tells Reader's Digest. Then it just went in circles. The next time he used the board, it was a different friend at his house. Again, the planchette moved in the same strange pattern. I felt like it was some kind of hex, he continues. Later that night, when he was sleeping, he felt a forceful hand grab his arms and wake him up. Everyone else in the house was sound asleep, looking for a less freaky foray into the supernatural. Oh, sorry, this is looking for less. Oh, whatever. That's them trying to advertise themselves. So the obvious thing is someone pulling a prank that could have caused the hand. The movement to making strange patterns could just be there's so many people trying to move it. It just went all over the place. And they just went, right, it did this kind of thing, and they kind of jumped to conclusions, doing 2 and 2 and making 5. That's my theory with that one. So let's go to another one on this website. Sorry if you hear like mouse clicking in one. Okay, this next one's called A Ghastly Glitch. I'm going to have a drink before we go any further. Here we go. Abby was in her room one night after playing with a Ouija board earlier that day. As she was getting ready for bed, her computer screen changed from black to blue. Ooh, sounds spooky. It turned on by itself. She turned the computer off. Again, the computer clicked itself back to life. Anxious, Abby unplugged the computer completely and then unpowered the computer and started back up again. She buried the Ouija board in her backyard that same night. Well, I can tell you what's happening there. That's quite common with computers. My old computer, the one I had before this, used to come on by itself randomly, and I definitely can tell you now it's something with it. I don't know the science behind it, but then that is the thing that some PCs do. They do just come on. So especially after you like hibernate them or put them to sleep, that's basically what happened there. So that's nothing spooky. So we'll do another one. Here we go. Solo play. Most people play with a Ouija board in groups, or at least with one other person. But this person wanted to try to use it on her own. She put her hands on the pointer and asked questions, but nothing happened. She took her hands off the pointer and was about to put the game away when the planchette began to move around on its own. I'll never try that again, says the 30-year-old from New Jersey. In an intriguing story. How does it move by itself? It could be a lorry or a car goes past the house and that makes the whole house shake. That could have been the case of moving. In the case of it moving. We'll read one more and then we'll talk a little bit more. Oh, it's quite a long one. This one's called The Open Circle. When Vince was 30, When Vince, now 30, was a child, one of his friends goaded him into playing with a Ouija board in his basement. Young Vince didn't expect anything out of the ordinary to happen, so he went along with it. Once they started to play, however, the lights began to flicker, the air around them grew cold, and a spirit began to communicate with them through the board. The spirit spelled out a Russian name and claimed he had been murdered. We took a break to make some pizza rolls, as you do, as you talk to the occult. Vince says, but we forgot to close the circle when we were done. And that's apparently a giant no-no, according to this article. After turning to the basement, the energy was much heavier, and books and things were sprawled out on the floor, and yet the board remained perfectly still in the centre of the room, just how they had left it. Upon looking at the mirror that we had nearby, the eye of the Ouija board was moving sporadically in its reflection. Ooh, very nice story. Now, there is the obvious. They're just telling you this. They're just telling that media outlets looking for a story and they just went for it. I don't believe that for a second, but the idea of the stuff moving, the stuff being all over the place, I think it's called psychometry, where you do something like I heard the story of someone once buying a haunted doll, and then they lost their wedding ring, and it wasn't where they placed it. And they said it was the doll. And said, no, you lost the wedding ring and your brain's just gone to blame the doll because it's kind of out of routine for you. That's kind of what we did. And that's the kind of thing I think has happened here. I don't believe for a second the eye was moving. That I'd want to see for my own self within this case of a story. But yeah, so that's kind of where we go. For an explanation of the eye, I can't come up with one myself, if that was to be a thing. But I'm not gonna justify it, because let's be honest, I don't think that's real. So yeah, those are some stories that we can tell that are on the Ouija board, which I think are fascinating. And I've heard stories of like family members who've used a Ouija board and think that it's kind of think it's real, when actually, in fact, I don't think there is enough evidence out there to say what they are. I don't think it's going to go back to being a medical device anytime soon, but it's one of those things. The negativity that comes from a Ouija board, as I said in the last episode, the negativity that comes from a Ouija board is the negativity of people surrounding it. The threats I got, that's the negativity that happened. Listen for the story. Listen to episode 1 called "Hello." This is So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Another nice quick episode talking about the world of the Ouija boards. No, we had no one get in touch because obviously the episode was only released yesterday for me, so there wasn't much time. But do get in touch, and I will talk about. I'll add some stories to the end of the video, the thing or whatever. So let me know what you want to hear. People are genuinely intrigued by this. In fact, I tell a lie. I did actually have one comment on the YouTube upload, so I'll just get that up and then read it out. So bear with me on that. It's not I haven't responded. There we go. M15 guys said, love this. Maybe this bad physics thing is the way forward for you. I am respectful for your openness and transparency over this subject. Thank you for posting. Thank you for sending me that. Yes, I think it's nice to. A lot of podcasts, paranormal podcasts, are on the side of paranormal activity is real, and I think it's nice that there is a skeptical podcast that's very much more skeptical. And there's a podcast called the Parapod where there's one believer and one skeptic. I thought it would be nice if there is full-on complete skepticism throughout this kind of thing, but I don't want to seem like I'm poo-pooing everything, but I just haven't seen the evidence. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for that comment, and make sure you comment more, and hopefully we'll see more episodes very, very soon. They'll be coming out over the next few very, very soon, so please do listen up. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another episode of the Spooky Ooky podcast.